Hello and welcome everybody to Alien's Joy. I am so glad to be here today and to see you. We're going to have an awesome show today and I have a guest on. So welcome to Alien's Joy on Win-Win Women. We are also live on Apple TV and Amazon Fire and Roku. And I hope you watch the show today because it's loaded with information. And I have an amazing guest. Her name is Paige Frisone, and she's a subconscious health practitioner in Colorado and a published writer, a poet, a dynamic speaking, and does a lot of dynamic speaking. Yeah, she's the founder and owner of her own integrative practice, Inner Realm Wellness, it's called, Inner Realm Wellness LLC. And we'll tell you all about that, where you can find her. She aids clients around the globe in processing trauma and dis-ease, like I talk so much about dis-ease, right? On a subconscious level and therefore a more sustainable level. So this is interesting, my friends. You have to watch today and have to listen to what Paige has to tell her. Her work is fueled by losing, about a decade of her life. She did a lot of study afterwards, she has lots of certifications. And, it's always our most passionate. We are our most passionate, like I always tell you, and I always tell my listeners, if we are coming from, a darker side and we transform our life, right? And we find some new and wonderful things to be very passionate about. We find our purpose. So coming out of anorexia and depression and anxiety and self-harm, we have so much in common. We talked a long time. So I'm going to give it over to Paige this morning and say, hi, Paige, how are you? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Alien's Joy. We bring joy and we bring fun. Glad to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. I know that, we had our first connection with each other a while back and it's just blossomed since then. I feel very connected and I'm so excited to be with your audience today. Thank you for everyone for being here.
I am so excited to have you on the show. Tell me first, what is a subconscious health practitioner? Where are you? Where are you practicing? And tell me a little bit about you, a little bit about where you are and what you do with your practice.
Sure. So I'm here in Boulder, Colorado. I have been here for 9 years now. I essentially got well here. I got sick. I also got well. This has been a place that's held me through the thick and the thin of a lot of dark years of my life. I came out here because I sought treatment here actually when I was 20. I'm from the Midwest originally. And when I got off the plane here, I was like, something's different. There's something in the environment that feels so medicinal. The air feels different. And I just naturally started to heal with a lot of support from a lot of different people. So I work remotely. I see people all around the world. And as far as what is a subconscious health practitioner, it's my favorite question. It really requires an understanding of what the subconscious is. The subconscious is 95% of our brain. So if you think about an iceberg or a glacier, we only see the tip of it. That's 5%. That's the conscious mind. That's the part that controls what I'm saying to you right now. That's the part that makes logical, practical decisions. Do I want to go outside today? Do I want to go to yoga? Right? Do I want to eat a salad? Do I want to eat a cookie? These decisions are coming from that 5%. And in society today, we stress only that 5%. We stress only the things that we can see, right? We don't really believe something that we can't tangibly see. But at the same time, that 95% is all of the stuff within us that we can't see. We can't see our heart beating. It just naturally does. We can't see or understand why we're involuntarily blinking or yawning or breathing in this rhythmic, involuntary way. So all of those parts of us, the autonomic nervous system, right? All of our organs, our glands, our cells are always working 24/7 for us in a subconscious way. That's where that part of the brain, the amygdala, is stored and rooted and controls all of our movements, all of the symptoms of our body, all the emotions of our life, all the thought patterns that we have. So when it comes to being a subconscious health practitioner, I help people journey to and through that invisible part and bring it to conscious level of awareness and raise the vibration of whatever is stored and stuck in there so that they can start to naturally heal.
I love your explanation about it. I love the iceberg metaphor, right? Because it's so clear. and gives a lot of clarity to people that do not really understand what's going on. Kind of the same way as I always find that people just kind of store their pain, right? It's that unconscious, whatever happened to us in the past. We have had trauma. We've had a lot of things happen to us that are still maybe there, and we don't pay attention to it. So for that, we also do have a lot of physical pain and physical problems. And so that way, if we go deeper and we go into that subconscious mind, you're saying we can find where that comes from, right?
Oh yeah.
What was for you? Um, how did you find out about all this? What was a little bit that happened in your past and in your history that you said, well, I know I want to be a subconscious health practitioner, right?
Yeah, well, I was pathologized pretty young. I was caught in the Western system because I had chronic night terrors as a kid up until age 7. I woke up every night screaming bloody murder, not being aware of what had happened, not being aware of what I had seen. I didn't have conscious awareness of my dreamtime life to be able to articulate in a conscious way what was going on in the daytime. So there's a complete disconnect between daytime and nighttime. There's a complete disconnect between conscious and subconscious, and that was dictating my entire life. I was being invaded every single night without really being able to share that with anybody. On paper, I was like any other kid. So I was in therapy as a young kid. I was in therapy, and I just really was asked questions like, how was your day? Who did you hang out with? What did you do? As if those questions were going to get to the root of why my nighttime life was so stressful, and it never got there. And so I was bullied in school. I had repressed memories from being having trauma in the home that only came to the surface a couple years ago, which has been super wild. And I directly correlate that to subconscious emotional processing. So a lot of these traumas in early age manifested as severe depression, anxiety, self-harm, anorexia, exercise addiction. And I was in and out of treatment for years and years and years. I couldn't hold down a relationship, could not finish school. I was essentially shipped from the Midwest to Colorado, like I said, to get intensive care. And I'm so grateful for it. There were a lot of relapses. There was a lot of back and forth. And in the meantime, so much of my internal struggle was an existential question. It was a spiritual trauma of, why am I here? Because all of it is suffering right now. And I know that I have the biggest heart, and I know that I love so much, but it's painful. And I don't know how to be of service because it feels so far away, and I can't help people until I'm fully healed, right? Or until I'm healed enough. And I really grappled with that for a long time. So in the thick of being in and out of treatment, I took myself from a school in the Midwest to a Buddhist inspired university here in Boulder. I went there because a lot of my treatment team in Denver had been graduates of that school, and they were like some kind of different human. They just spoke a different language. I resonated with their language, and I went to this school, had a lot of struggle, a lot of victories, and I started studying on a personal, professional, and academic level what integrative medicine was, what alternative medicine was. I picked up psychology in addition to my writing background. So
Wow.
I had a lot of lived experience that kind of helped me figure out that there's something greater out there. And at
Wow.
the same time, this integrative work that I do, this technique, this system, didn't come from any of that. It didn't come from my schooling necessarily. It came from a mentor that my mom actually had. And when I was really struggling, she accidentally walked into his office, and they introduced themselves. She got certified through him. And so I was introduced to this work 8 years ago in the thick of my struggle, not able to really see what it had to benefit for me at that time. And it was only until being in school and studying each modality individually that I came back around to this technique, and I was like, oh, this encapsulates all of it. So it was a very winding road of figuring out what didn't resonate so I could figure out what did. And I had spun the spectrum of Western medicine to Eastern medicine just to come back to the center and say, hey, we need all of this.
You have an amazing story. Yeah. Thank you for sharing and for being so open and vulnerable about it. And yeah, I talk a lot about addiction. I talk a lot about the rehab. And I understand that, thank you for sharing that. Definitely. That is, and we go around and we have to kind of move through it and find out what it is, where our pain is, what we do with it, and how we can do it different. Right. And I understand also from your past and treatment that, it kind of was the conventional way, of treatment, right? It was maybe medication, doctors not really knowing what to do with you, not really understanding where it came from. So, what was your perspective on that, and how did you go away from that?
Yeah, what a journey. There's something about treatment that's so unique. I'm so grateful I had the experiences that I had. It saved me over and over again when I was in an acute moment, when my physiological, cues were off, when, I needed blood work done, like all the things that they monitor, that was important at that time. But there's also a lot of limitation about it, just like there's limitations with anything and everything. And typically what it is being monitored 24/7 if you're in like a residential or an acute program, and then if you're in a partial program or an IOP program, it's a little bit less monitoring, but there's still a lot of rules, a lot of etiquette, for good reason. They have to keep you safe and contained. But the general system outlook of it is that you have your primary therapist, you have your primary doctor, you have a nutritionist or a dietitian, and you have a psychiatrist. So you have these four main people that are working together with you. You might have a team on the outside of your treatment system as well that they're syncing with, but while you're in treatment, whether it's for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it is, you have this intensive team. Nowhere on that team do they have anybody tending to the root origin of emotions. They'll bring in people, you might see once in a while an acupuncturist come in and help do an experiential with you. Maybe you will have somebody teaching you, like educating you about the brain in more of a psychology-based way, certain mindfulness techniques, how to meditate, aromatherapy. They'll bring in a lot of these Eastern influences, which is fantastic. Yeah. And they'll educate you, right? They'll educate you about how to use the mind or how to think different thoughts, or there's therapies of CBT and DBT and ACT, and all of those are great. They have a time and a place. For me, I was a great student. I loved learning. So being in treatment was more like a school to me than anything, but it didn't change what was going on for me. And so I really lacked the understanding and longed for someone to tell me then what I know now, which is that we're addressing only the 5% of the brain in treatment, and we're negating the 95%. I remember having teams that would like look at me so quizzically, like, what happened to you? Or like, what is it? Like, what's the thing that's responsible for you not getting better? And I was like, if I knew the answer, I would give it to you, but I don't. And little did I know, I was being storied left and right my whole life of what happened and what didn't happen. And I didn't have any agency. I didn't have any memories. Everything was chronologically just fractured within. And as a result of getting off my medications eventually 4 years ago, and as a result of doing the subconscious healing work, I accessed repressed memories and my entire life came back to me. And I finally had the answer for my treatment teams of the past that I couldn't answer at the time. And when you're heavily medicated and you're heavily traumatized and you don't even know the trauma that you're supposed to be working with, right, how are you supposed to heal, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's been part of my work in the past, and part of my mission and part of my message has been, educating people about the fact that we shouldn't treat the symptoms only, but we just should go to the cause of it, right? To the root of it. And I love that you're sharing that, that took a long time, because I think we're still in a society where we're still kind of new at these changes. More integration is now around us. We see it a lot more. We see the mind, body, spirit connection coming through a lot more. And luckily, there's a lot more techniques that we can work with, and a lot more knowledge that we have about, the part of the neuro, help me out, neuro, I can't even talk
neuroscience of it.
Neuroscience of it. So tell me about how you found out that, what was the connection for you right there? What was it? What does it mean?
It's funny because before I discovered the system that I'm using now, because everyone has different resonance with different things. And that's why I'm so grateful there's an abundance of techniques and tools and, knowings out there, because everyone's going to find what works for them. I was studying trauma in the textbook way in school. I knew about it on a physiological level. I knew about the body keeping the score. I knew about patterning of the system with somatic experiencing and how PTSD gets trapped in the body. Like, I knew about all of it on that conscious level, but we're not taught how to integrate that information either in a way that makes sense for our individual lives and our personal experience. And so, you can know it in a very heady way, but I'm so grateful that societally we're moving in a direction where people are really appreciating lived experience, because there's a difference between a practitioner who knows the textbooks and who has lived the life, right? And if you have both of those things, all the better. And that's really where I hope to straddle that line for people in a really integrated and embodied way. That's why I'm so transparent about my story in a way that a therapist might not be able to be, because I'm here to be of service based on the life that I've lived. So neuroscientifically, right, we have neural networks, we have programs, we're like a computer. And certain people's belief systems, which I had so many, I was in such a black and white linear thought pattern, which a lot of people who struggle with certain things are, especially eating disorders or addiction. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. So we think certain beliefs of like, if I eat this, I'm bad, for example, or I'm crazy, what's wrong with me? Or I can't do it, I'm never going to make it, I'm not worthy, whatever these beliefs are, which, by the way, might not even be conscious to you. You might not even know what's running the show. Those beliefs are programs from past memories that haven't been fully processed. And conception to 7 is our most vulnerable time on a developmental level. And so the brain isn't fully formed at that point. And at the same time, we're sensorially, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and touch, taking in the world every few seconds. And that's why we know babies have this like beginner's mind type of wonderment about them, because they're always taking in input and information. And the second their system says, boom, I'm not safe, and they can't communicate that verbally, it gets stuck on a loop within them in their present experience 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, until that original occurrence is upgraded on a cellular level. So every thought we think, every belief that we have is actually coming from a past part of us. We are accumulations of all of our past. And whether that's present lifetime, we can locate those memories. If it's past lifetimes, we can go there too, if your client's open to it. And there's also generational influences on mom and dad's side of things that we have involuntarily inherited that are not our choice, are not of our choosing. So it's such a mind game. It's such a beautiful labyrinth to journey into the mind.
I love your passion behind it. You're so passionate. I love that you said it comes from my own experiences, because that's what I'm really big in. And I'm really big at telling my clients with my life coaching practice that is why, I am having my energy. I am in the game, right? I feel you. I am, you can understand better. You have been there. I love that what you said. And I also relate to what you're doing is a new strategy towards the future. One of the biggest things that I always talk and write about in my show, my book, with my coaching, is that we know what we don't want, but we do not understand what we do want. And we have to get rid of those limiting beliefs, as we call them, right? Those limiting beliefs that are really just holding us down and are really not making us see what kind of opportunities and purpose there is for us. So I love that you said that. Tell me a little bit about the way you work and your lifeline technique. That's very interesting. I love that. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so this technique is called the Lifeline technique. I use this as like a skeletal structure or a model with clients. However, if there's something else that comes up in session, we're going to reroute and go a lot of different ways. So in general, this technique has over 14 modalities from Eastern and Western combined. It's rooted in that neuroscientific philosophy. It's rooted in chiropractic work. And there's elements of it that span across the field of Ayurveda, shamanism, color therapy, chakra alignment, neuro-linguistic programming, holographic repatterning, on and on and on. And there's EMDR, there's like a whole bunch of things that I find do it in a unique and different way, in a really expedited way, where we're going to get straight to the memory that's causing that present day stress. So people come in to me and they're like, I have this chronic sinusitis, or I have autoimmune, or I have Lyme's and I've been struggling with it for however long, or I have an acute car accident injury, or they have even just emotional patterns of like low self-esteem, or maybe they've been diagnosed with personality stuff or mood disorders or whatever it is. We can find those memories that are responsible for triggering that present day diagnosis or chronic complex trauma, and we would never be able to otherwise access it on a conscious level. That's why, and I say this every time, I love therapy. Like I really do. It's saved my life. I would not be who I am today without the people of my past. At the same time, I could never have gotten to the root, and people asked and they probed and they tried, but I have never been able to get to the root through the conscious mind, because we're working with two different parts of the brain. And so if we had the answers, if we just could be happy, we just would be. It's that easy. But there's so much that we know we experienced that's traumatizing. There's also so much we don't. And so much of this journey of doing this integrative work helps us be empowered. I work to really educate clients as to why we're upgrading the senses of the body, and why epigenetically we're not destined to suffer through our genetic expression, how we can shift our genes, we can shift our internal memory. And the modern science movement knows this. Dr. Joe Dispenza is paving the path. Dr. Bruce Lipton understands that when we shift our internal landscape, our internal sensory memory, our external environment starts to shift. So we're working on a level of perception. I can champion people all day long, right? I can tell you that you're amazing, but people aren't going to know that for themselves if those limiting beliefs are in the way, like you're saying. So we can rewire them. We can start doing some work with the different parts of us that might be resistant or blocking. And we also get a different understanding of, okay, what are the channels of our body, whether it's structural body, emotional body, or biochemical body? What ways is that past part of you still showing up, and what is it emotionally expressing, and where is that trapped within? And just by observing it, we get to shift the consciousness of it. And when we shift the consciousness of it, we can upgrade our own physiology almost instantly. Like it's pretty insane. So that is a little bit of the journey that I'll take with clients in session.
Thank you. I love that. And it's very important, very imperative that I think that everybody becomes or gets into a better understanding of all this so that we can go there, right? Even I call it like my exit strategy, which is not really an exit, but like post, addiction or in recovery from yesterday. I say sometimes, because people with depression, anxiety, and stress symptoms are, not even processing yesterday. So what is holding you back? So in all that new way of treatment, hopefully we can all see that we can bring it better together, and that we can have a better understanding of ourselves. And what I do is trying to help people, and thank you for being here with this information, trying to help people to understand that they need to come first to that point of awareness. And when you can come to that point of awareness and you understand where it is, where you are at the moment, then you can move forwards, right? I love that, Paige. It's a beautiful story. I love it. What would you say with your clients if they come to you? Is there a time frame, or is it for everybody different? Do they need to work for 2 months with you or for 6 months? How would you approach that?
Yeah, great question. So unlike a conventional therapist where maybe you would be there for years and years, which again, to some it works. I've seen my current therapist forever and I love her the world. For me, I say give or take 6 months. It does depend on what you're coming in with. If you have something that feels like really acute and complex, it's going to take a little bit more time. If you have something that you are wanting to get a tune-up with, like something that you feel like you've done a lot of work on already that just needs a little bit of maintenance, that is fantastic as well. So I see people in different stages of the game. I see them in a reactive way where they're like, I've tried everything. I've ping pong doctors. Nobody knows what's going on with me. This is my ticket to take my health into my own hands. I literally don't have another choice. Those people are the most committed and might see that change quicker than they think that they will. But I always like to create a container of like, hey, I also want to have a relationship with you. You can call me in anytime you want. Let's start on a weekly basis. When your guidance tells you that you're maintaining your vibration and that you're stable enough, let's toy with weaning off as soon as you want to do that. So that could be as soon as a month after seeing me. It could be as soon as 2 months. And then we'll go down to like twice a month or maybe once a month and just make sure everything's cool. I don't want my clients to need me. I want them to want to see me whenever they want to see me. But it is more of an expedited journey than a conventional therapy system. I kid you not, I've seen people where I do see them for like 5 weeks and I see them once a week for 5 weeks and they're good. And again, it's very subjective. It's very dependent on where they are vibrationally, emotionally. I've seen people for a couple years because it's the best gift you can give yourself, just to continue doing this work.
Yep.
And we're all healing from lifetimes of struggle. And so it really is me reverting back to the client and their guidance. I'm like, hey, I want you to want to do this and I want you to show up for you. But you will know the answer when we get to that place. And I want to help them work that muscle of trusting themselves.
Absolutely. That's great. I have to say, philosophy, it kind of goes by person, right? We address the situation as we go. There's no set system, and you can work with people really long. I always say everybody needs a coach, so we all need somebody like you, just to kind of have at some point, even when you're coming out of, or every couple of months, you say it's maintenance, I'm doing good. We still need to have that accountability and that feedback once in a while. And one of the things that I know from my past is I didn't seek feedback. I didn't seek accountability, right? So once we're getting there to a better level of understanding, have that maintenance with people. I love that. Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, this is important for everybody to know, of course, and I already know the answer, but can we do this by Zoom? Can we do it virtual? Do we need to be one-on-one? How do you approach that?
Yeah, great question. So I do work remotely, which means I see people all around the world. I'm very flexible. I do not have conventional hours. I can see people of all time zones, which is amazing. And I do see people typically remotely, one-on-one, but I can also facilitate like healing circle groups. So if you're more in the practitioner stage, or if you're a therapist or an acupuncturist, or you have a clinic of some sort and you want me to be part of an experiential group with people, I'm happy to lead that as well. And then for folks that are local, again, I can be nomadic. So even though I do work predominantly remotely, if it's for a special event or you just prefer to do an in-person service, I'm happy to figure that out with them as well.
I love that. We met each other as speakers. We are both speakers. And so that's a great thing, if anybody wants to have this whole story and explanation, an amazing thing, invite Paige. I'm going to ask you, of course, where people can find you and how we can all reach you. I know you have great TikTok videos. We're all going there. We're going to go on TikTok. I love it. And it's very clear. I mean, I love the fact that you can explain it so well. I love that. I love that about you. So we need you as a speaker. Definitely, keep doing what you're doing, because it's very important. It's very important that we're healing the world in a different way than we are used to. And I love that about you. And tell everybody where they can find you, Paige.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I have such a fire under me just to continue creating this conversation, this education to the masses. Once we have the awareness, we can start making those shifts in a really deep way. So people can find me. Yes, find me on TikTok. So my business's name is Inner Realm Wellness. It's a mouthful on purpose. It's very accurate to the work that we do in all this spatialness, all of the expansion of the spirit and science world together. So innerrealmwellness.life is my website, innerrealmwellness.life. It's also my handle on TikTok, on Instagram, and Facebook. So Inner Realm Wellness with 2 R's. And I'm also super active, like on LinkedIn. You can just search my name. I am really open to having tons of content. I give free resources, tips, tricks, everything you could possibly want. And because I am doing a bunch of these speaking events as well coming up, I really encourage you to stay tuned and stay close and just reach out anytime you need support.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You're all over the place, and we're not going to stop, right? We're not going to stop this message and healing people. And I love your passion and energy. Fits right into my Allianz joy. I'm glad you are here today, tuning in with us. Thank you so much. And thank you, Paige, of course. I mean, you're just an amazing guest, so passionate. I love our energy. And that's what we do here. We want to make everybody happy and smile, laugh, and just at the same time, full of information, share our energy, share our love with everyone. You can find me, of course, elianhaan.com. You can find Paige, of course, innerrealmwellness.live, innerrealmwellness.live. And yeah, it is a mouthful. It doesn't matter, right? Because no, it says it all, right? You want to know a little bit more, you gotta do the work for it. And we want to just read it. Go there, go to her webpage. It's full of information. It's full of free information. It's great. There's great articles that explain again what Paige does. Thank you so much for watching Alien's Joy today. Thank you, Paige. Namaste. Have a wonderful rest of the day. I am super excited that we were here. I hope you're all watching, or watch the replay on winwinwomen.tv, or find me on YouTube, my handle Alien Haan, of course, on my channel, where we are also posting all the replays. And you can find it on my Facebook. You can find it on Paige Facebook. So thank you so much for watching today. Bye, everyone. Till next week. Love you.
Bye.